Welcome to Asnah Roundtable Discussion. Asnah Roundtable Discussion is all about the community, educating people and empowering lives. We also change lives every day. My name is Essie Jenin, and I am the host for Asnah Roundtable Discussion. Before I introduce my panel for the discussion today, I'd like you to do something for me. Subscribe to Asnah TV, like our page, and share our page. Today we are going to talk about something that affects everybody. It has affected our lives, and it is COVID-19 pandemic. This is something that has really slowed down the world. And I have two wonderful panelists with me. On my right is Miss Epiamafo. She is a registered nurse, bachelor's in nursing. She works at Mount Vernon Hospital, and she's also a faculty at American School of Nursing and Allied Health. On my left here is Miss Joyce Nkrumah. She is a registered nurse. She has a master's in nursing. She's a nurse anesthesiologist. Big word. She works for Inova Ferrux Hospital. And thank you, ladies, for joining us. And thank you for tuning in. So, our discussion is about the COVID pandemic and what it's taught us, the lessons that we've learned from COVID pandemic in America. So, Epia, let me begin with you. Or let me ask a brief question. Let's talk about the positive impacts that COVID pandemic has unveiled to us in healthcare. Let's begin with positive impacts.
Thank you very much. So I believe that prior to COVID pandemic, we were doing things very differently. And then all of a sudden we had this sudden surge of this pandemic. And so in healthcare, we weren't doing so much of telework. But now that the pandemic, came through, we saw a lot of telemedicine where you can stay at home even with your cell phones, get in touch with your provider. And that has moved technology into healthcare. Prior to that, is the same old, come to my office, I need to see you one-on-one. But there's a lot that could be done. You can have a watch that will check your heart rate and send it to your provider. And so, and even with blood pressures, with insulin checks, there's so much technology out there. And so this pandemic has taught us that we should bridge the gap between technology and healthcare. So that has kind of moved the two areas much closer than before.
I think you're very right. Telehealth, I think, is the new norm of the day, and it's great because it's more flexible. We get to sit in our own homes and meet our doctors, and many things can be done. So I think it's a great idea. And in general, technology has really, really come to life to us and handy. So Miss Joyce, what do you think?
I think she's right. Telemedicine is here to stay. It's been very helpful, especially to our older generation who are not able to go out and see their doctors. And also think about mental health also. It was really difficult for people to make appointments to get in to see their psychiatrists and psychologists. But because of telemedicine, you can do that from the comfort of your home. The other thing that also came up as a result of this pandemic is the redefinition of essential workers. Because before, when we say essential workers, one would think, oh, maybe those in the healthcare field. But with the advent of the pandemic, now we think about the grocery workers. We think about all the people who take care of our little kids in the crash. And we also think about the postal worker. Because think about it, if you are a person who has a heart disease, diabetes, and you depend on your medication, and the postal worker cannot get to you, that means you cannot get your medication. So it has taught us a lot that there are a lot of people in our society that did not get credit in the prior years, but with COVID-19, I think those people also need to be commended for the work that they're doing in our community.
You are so right.
Yeah. And also, just to add to what she was saying, that even in our homes, prior to the pandemic, mom will wake up, rush to work, dad will wake up, rush to work, and then the pandemic came, everyone was forced to stay at home.
Yeah.
And so maybe in a given day you would see your spouse, out of 24 hours you see them maybe 5, 6, maximum 8 hours. Now you are elbow to elbow, right? You see each other throughout, especially during the lockdown. And so it also strengthened some relationships. Yes, family bonds. Even when the kids would go to school, after school practice, they will be in this, they'll be in that. But the pandemic, there was a lockdown. So there are certain behaviors that parents were noticing that they might have not noticed prior to the pandemic. And so they were able to fine tune it and make sure that the kids were growing wholesomely. And also, it also created a stronger bond between families. Because before, people wouldn't eat dinner because of different schedules.
Yes.
But it forced families to eat together, and people would realize that maybe their younger child is smacking their lips more often than not, and you'll be able to, hey, you don't eat like that, but before we're just rushing
Yes.
back and forth. So that came to light during the lockdown.
That is so right. I also feel that the self-awareness of prevention of diseases is very much, we are more aware of that. Like as of now, we wear masks all the time, we wash our hands, we are social distancing, all of that is an awareness. Before, we knew all these basics. These are things that they taught us as kids. Wash your hands before you eat. Wash your hands when you come out, when you finish playing. And these are things that we knew them, but we took them for granted. But as the COVID pandemic surged, we re-picked it up. And now it's like a routine. So I feel that we are more aware of disease prevention and practicing these things more, right?
Yes.
Another thing that I think that I feel that COVID has, it's a positive, is the idea of vaccines. It's great. Now I think as healthcare providers, we are the ones to really educate, encourage, and tell people that the vaccine has cut down serious diseases, hospitalizations, and things like that. So I think, and it came in time.
Yes.
If it wasn't that, we still would have been shut down,
Yeah.
shut in, and not really come out and even do this.
Absolutely.
So I think as healthcare providers, this is something that we should really educate about
Yes.
as a positive of the pandemic.
One thing that just popped in my mind is prior to the pandemic, some, especially in the African culture, especially Africans in the diaspora, we were brought up to go to church, to be in church, and so you'd have people physically going to church 5 days in a week, 6 days in a week, and so this pandemic might have taught someone that you don't have to see your pastor to be a Christian. You can stay in your home, open your Bible, and have a personal relationship with whoever or whatever you believe in. Unlike going to the leaders of a religious practice. It doesn't necessarily have to be church, right? You go to the religious leader because that was what we were used to. But now it's more of, it is between you and your God. And pastor is not physically in your home, so what you're gonna do? You're gonna put in some changes, and we were Zooming, so.
I think that's a very good point too. Now we have learned to be spiritual on our own. And it's helped us all. So these are some of the great positives that we have discussed.
There's one thing I wanted to
Mhm.
ask. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I think it has also caused a lot of people to have an interest in healthcare. because at the beginning of the pandemic, nurses, doctors, everybody was stressed out. But yet it did not change the love that we had for our patients. And most that were lucky to be alive after their stint with COVID-19 have actually appreciated what we do and what we continue to do today. And so that has actually increased interest in the healthcare industry, if I should say.
And I think saying that, it also brings to mind that during the pandemic, we saw an increase in healthcare applications, in student applications, enrollment. As Asnah, for example, American School of Nursing and Allied Health, where we offer nursing education, we did see a spike in the enrollment of our students. So though, nurses are sort of going the other direction, but student enrollment has increased during the pandemic. And it's great because without that, we won't increase our workforce to replace the ones that are leaving. So it's a great idea. So now that we've talked about some of the positives, let's move on into the negative impacts of the pandemic.
Oh, wow.
And I know that the minute we talk about COVID pandemic, the first thing that sets into everybody's minds is the negatives.
Yes.
Because that's what we see first.
Yeah.
But in the midst of every storm, or in the midst of every tunnel, they say, there's always a light at the end. So I like to focus on the positives rather than the negatives, because that's what keeps me going. So let's talk about some of the negative impacts of COVID. Ladies, what are some of the negative impacts of the COVID-19 in America and what we've seen, the trend that we've seen? Let's start with Ms. Joyce this time.
Well, the impact on the healthcare sector has been overwhelming, I would say, because we have nurses, doctors working way too many hours that they could even humanly possibly do. We do have shortage of staff. The irony of the issues that people that were quite not ready to retire, but they were close with everything that was going on, decided to retire. And so that created a shortage. And also we have a lot of people, a lot of nurses and doctors also getting sick. So the issue of shortage of nurses and doctors has been, in this country for so long. And this COVID pandemic has brought it to its, to bear for everybody to know that this issue has been going on. So most nurses, it's affected everybody, ourselves included, because we have to work extraordinary number of hours. You get home and you're exhausted. There's so much going on. You have patients dying left and right, affecting your emotional, ability and everything. So I think the healthcare sector has taken a huge hit as a result of this pandemic.
That's right.
To chime in, besides the healthcare sector, in the other areas of it, when we talk about essential workers in general, when you go to the grocery stores, you would realize that they were understaffed, and so it made it difficult to get basic groceries. Do you remember when the pandemic started? There was shortage of toilet paper, literally shortage of toilet paper. You couldn't even find bottled water, and there were a lot of things that they were rationing. Yeah. And so it made living, doing everyday things, everyday activities very, very challenging. And we saw that there was just an abrupt stop of schools. And so if you have a single mother who works in the healthcare system in an area where you didn't have an option to work from home. So this parent is going to work, children are at home, homeschooling. Who is homeschooling these kids? They're homeschooling themselves. And so there was a lot of uncertainties. And that also brought in a lot of other issues. And, so there is a lot to speak about the negative aspects of COVID.
Yeah. And also the psychological strain that it puts on healthcare providers. We all, during the height of the pandemic, all we saw are deaths, left and right. And what it has done right now is it's put a lot of mental health problems on healthcare workers, and now it's all over the place.
Right.
So I think this is something that we would have to address as healthcare providers, and also strategies to help us cope in this pandemic. Um,
I also like to add that, as Ife was saying, kids also took a blunt of all the issues that were going on. Because as she said, can you imagine if you are semi-literate and your kid is homeschooling? They have homework. Number one, you don't even understand the language.
Yes.
Even if you do, sometimes my kids brought algebra. I'm like, hey, as for this one, I can't. Like, I don't understand it.
Right.
So taking an educated person who cannot even help their kids, what about the other people? So the education of our kids took a hit. I mean, they're trying to get there, but still, there's still work to be done. And the other thing I wanted to add is supply chain issues. Because when we started the pandemic, we couldn't find N95, like gloves, simple things like gloves, basic things that we needed to do our jobs was not available. So you end up wearing the same N95 from one room to the other, and that was not safe.
Right.
So I think it's something that needs to be looked at. That some people might think it sounds political, but really it's not. I'm saying it from a healthcare perspective that we need to do better at producing most of our stuffs. Because if there's a country that is producing N95, you bet they'll take care of their own before they'll ship whatever is left to you. So I think we need to look at that as a country and make policies to that effect.
And to chime in, looking at the educational system as well, you have, as you were saying, people who are semi-illiterate. There are some people who have good level of education, but they do not know how to use computers. And you have children, kindergartners, homeschooling using computers. It brought a lot of challenges. Even with having 5, 6 children, where are you gonna get the financial boost to buy 5 computers? Especially if you live in a small area. These five children, they are only 4 corners to a room.
Yeah.
Where are you gonna put all these computers? And how are these students learning? So there's a lot that has happened, and we're gonna see the repercussions of COVID-19 5, 6, 10 years down the line, because the generation, the kids that were hit the most, we are going to see the effect of the pandemic much later on, and we're starting to see it, but it's going to reach its peak years down the line.
You're so right. Another thing that I also think is that as a body, as a healthcare body, I don't think we're well prepared. As a country, as such as we are in, we're in every sector. We are in the education sector. American School of Nursing, we do education. I don't think we ever thought anything like this would happen. And it goes for every other sector in the country. And I think as healthcare providers, and in healthcare sector especially, because that's what some of these pandemic would fall on, should better be ready. And I know that we know more now than we used to know. And that is it was a very negative impact on our side, and as everybody's, So I think moving on forward, things has to be done a little bit more differently to accommodate situations like this. Another thing that I was thinking is it has also changed our lives and put a strain on everybody. Now, if you are working with your students, you have to think a student cannot just meet you as a school and come and hug you. They have to think twice. You have to think, and that takes away some of the personal connections and things, human touch, connections, and all of that away from us as a body. So I feel that is a big negative impact, and not only that, that affects us, our well-being psychologically, and in everywhere, every home, as a society, we all having this strain and this burden, and it's causing problems. It is causing problems. Um,
I would also add that loss of trust in the system has also been one of the negative impacts because it used to be or still is that nursing is one of the trusted professions. But because of COVID 19 and misinformation and a whole lot of things that are going on, people don't trust the system anymore. But I'd like to say a little bit about that because when COVID 19 hit, science is about data and doing the work. Nobody knew anything about it. It's not magic. You can't just pull figures from everywhere. You need to go to the lab, put in the work, and see what it gives you. And so, yes, the CDC and all other places, they could have done a better job, like with communication and everything. But you have to understand they are also human and they are doing their best, putting in countless number of hours to get it right, to get us to where we are today. Unfortunately, some people have used that communication and misconstrued it, misconceptions, and it's gotten us into a bad situation where people have a lot of a lot of thoughts and a lot of things that they are saying that might not be true. So I think it's caused a loss of trust in the healthcare system, the doctors, nurses, and the scientists. And I think we have work to do to go out there and convince the people that live around us.
Education, education, education. That's all it's all about. We are here, American School of Nursing and Allied Health. We are always here educating people. We are the vehicles to educate, to transport, to change minds, and to even educate about anything else about COVID 19, especially with vaccines. We will take another break. We'll be right back. We are still talking about the pandemic revelations.
Asnah, America's School of Nursing and Allied Health. Are you looking for a reputable nursing school that will equip you for the future? Asnah is the answer. At Asnah, some of the programs we offer include practical nursing, phlebotomy, nurse aid, medication aid, and home health aid. We also offer CPR classes. We have an ultra-modern library that helps make learning fun, a state-of-the-art simulation lab for all of our courses, and a well-equipped studio to help reach the community. We have well-trained and dedicated instructors who are here to ensure your success. Here are some pictures of our past graduation ceremonies. We believe, we inspire, and we create. This is our mission statement. Asnah has the right atmosphere to help you attain your goals. Asnah, we will help you follow your dream. For more information, please visit our website at asnahonline.com or call 703-490-8402.
Welcome back to Asthma Roundtable Discussions. We're talking about the impact of COVID 19 and the lessons that we have learned in healthcare. So, we are going to get back right in it. And the next question that I'm going to ask you, ladies, is what has COVID 19 done to the diasporans? How has it impacted or affected us as diasporans?
It's COVID-19 was very stressful, and diasporans even felt it the most because, as we've been talking about essential workers, a good percentage of essential workers are immigrants, and so we didn't get a break compared to other areas who had the luxury of working from home. Essential workers did not have that luxury. And so, besides the fear of the unknown, we had to get up and physically go outside of our homes to earn a living, not just to sustain our homes here, but also homes and family members where we come from. And so that created a lot of financial constraints, a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety, and with immigrants, that alone and coupled with our mindset, coupled with the way we were raised, we cannot abandon family. And so even if you are sick, you're gonna get up and go to work because there are many people that depend on you for survival. And the pandemic wasn't just in America, it was worldwide. So as much as there was financial need, increase in financial need in America, is the same thing in other areas. And so we had to go to work hard, and then send money back home, also sustain our families here. And so the financial demand was more than the supply.
Yes. And then piggybacking on that, the financial demands was of the charts. But then also, when you go in, the fear of the unknown, as you said, but we still had to go. Somebody has to do it, and we did it. I would say with all our hearts and everything. One thing I would like to bring our attention to is the racial disparities, because when you look at all the research out there, we actually bore the brunt of this disease because of predisposition. Because when you take immigrants, I would say African Americans or Black for that matter, and take myself as an example, coming from a place, a family with a history of high blood pressure, some uncles with diabetes, that right there, these two factors puts you at a higher risk of getting this disease. And when you look at the mortality rate for our people, ourselves, Latin American, and a few other people, mostly immigrants, bore the brunt of it. And then when you have these three factors, and then you add the fact that we are the essential workers, then that's totally like, it's off the charts.
Yeah, it's like recipe for disaster.
Recipe for disaster, exactly. So it did put a lot of stress on those of us in the diaspora. You're not only just earning a living, but then you're also predisposed to getting this disease because of what you do and your background.
Just as you were talking about most immigrants being essential workers, we also live in a multi-generational household. So unlike other people, we have our parents, our grandparents, and who are elderly, and so they may not necessarily work. But if you're an essential worker, you have to come home, and so you are exposing your elderly parents, you're exposing your little children to the pandemic. And so that alone created a lot of stress, on immigrants and families. Yes.
Another thing that I was thinking about as we were talking is just because we live together, close together, many people in the same household, we really contracted the COVID-19 virus. And many of us were, the fact that culturally or religiously we didn't believe in the disease made us do lots of
Medication.
treatment. Yes, self-treatment. And that ended in a lot of deaths. Many people lost their lives. People would do ginger tea, lots of garlic, things that were off the chart to treat themselves. And that really affected the diasporans or the minorities, thereby affecting the families that they rely on us to provide and to give, and a chain of effect. If you are not well, that means that you can't go to work. If you can't go to work, you can't bring home money. It affects you, those that you have to take care of back home, and the immediate family. So these things were really things that were bothering us, and it really put a toll on diasporans.
And speaking about the pandemic and immigrants, diasporans, some of us may also live in a home where social distancing is not possible, right? And so even if we have someone in our household who has who is positive for COVID-19, how are you going to isolate yourself? And so it was almost given that if you have one member of the household testing positive for COVID, be rest assured that the entire household is going to be positive because of how we the close proximity and how we can social distance, and even cultural practices. We eat together.
Yes.
We eat together. You know, we are very tactile, and so that alone, it was very, very challenging to say that maybe our practices will not lead to getting COVID-19. Very, very difficult.
Yeah. Also, I also think religiously, some of our people had misconceptions about the vaccine.
That's right.
That if you take it, it means you're taking the mark of the beast and all that. And so, in the beginning, they were not willing to take it. But I think we've made strides, and we are actually, with the education that is going on and everything, we are able to convince a lot more of our people to get vaccinated.
I think also history. In the past, vaccines affect people of different racial backgrounds differently, and the African American blacks have had very bad experiences when it comes to vaccination.
Yes.
And so, if you are a group of people who have that history, it's going to be very difficult, very challenging to think that at this time around it is for the better of all of us, or it's safe for all of us. And so I think that hindsight is 2020. Moving forward, we have to do better in educating and ensuring that we understand the past, know the mistakes of the past, and know how we're going to prevent those same mistakes from happening. Because if you turn on the TV and CNN is telling you, or any TV station is telling you that go get vaccinated, that is without proper education. That is what we were told 100 years ago, and the effects were different. And so, what should we do now to ensure that we understand the vaccine and how to prevent the pandemic?
I know that right here in American School of Nursing and Allied Health, we do have lots of minority population in our school.
Yes.
And I can remember that when the vaccine came, and some students did not want to take it, we took the proper steps to educate our students as to what the pros and cons are and why it's necessary to take it. And I think with education, we did well. And it went, now we at least have about 98% of our population vaccinated.
Yeah.
And I think if that is extended into the community, as we're doing now, that would really help with this situation that we're facing. So at this time, we're getting ready to wrap up, but let's take one quick break and we'll be right back.
Asnah, America's School of Nursing and Allied Health. Are you looking for a reputable nursing school that will equip you for the future? Asnah is the answer. At Asnah, some of the programs we offer include practical nursing, phlebotomy, nurse aid, medication aid, and home health aid. We also offer CPR classes. We have an ultra-modern library that helps make learning fun, a state-of-the-art simulation lab for all of our courses, and a well-equipped studio to help reach the community. We have well-trained and dedicated instructors who are here to ensure your success. Here are some pictures of our past graduation ceremonies. We believe, we inspire, and recreate. This is our mission statement. Asnah has the right atmosphere to help you attain your goals. Asnah, we will help you follow your dream. For more information, please visit our website at asnahonline.com or call 703-490-8402.
once again for tuning in into Asnah Roundtable Discussions. We are talking about the impact of COVID-19 pandemic and the lessons it has taught us in healthcare. The last question that we are going to talk about and then wrap up is I'd like to know, and the audience would like to know, personally, what COVID-19 has taught you as a nurse, as a mother, as a wife, both of you. What has COVID-19 taught you?
Well, for me, I would say that don't take life too seriously. We shouldn't sweat the little things because we worry about so much about the unknown. What am I going to do today? What if tomorrow never comes? So just enjoy yourself, enjoy your family, and please be kind to each other. You meet people, you don't know what they're going through. Some people can be really mean, but people are going through a lot of stuff that I'm guessing if it was me, I probably wouldn't survive. So be kind to each other. Say hello to somebody. You never know. That could be that person's, brightening that person's day. And it might help them not to maybe commit suicide or do something outrageous. So be kind to each other, be kind to yourself too, and definitely enjoy your family.
For me, I would say that COVID-19 has made me a better person because, in the grand scheme of things, it has taught me not to sweat the little things. At the end of the day, if you have life, you have hope. And so, protecting yourself, protecting your family in the best way you know how, and not to worry about material things because the clothes we had pre-pandemic does not fit post-pandemic. We've gotten a little bit rounder as we stayed at home, and so yes, don't worry about Macy's having a sale because you never know.
You never know. That's right.
It may not fit tomorrow.
That's right. You never know what tomorrow holds. And I feel at this point, COVID-19 has become part of our lives. And we just have to look up to the future, love one another, just like Joyce said. Today is today. Look up today. Look up the future. Love your family. Live with them. And leave the little things that don't matter. And let's be better people. Let's be a better community. So at this point, we'd like to wrap up. And once again, thank you for tuning in. This is Asnah Roundtable Discussions. We are here to serve the community. We are here to educate and empower the community. We are changing lives every day. Please do not forget to subscribe to our channel, Asnah TV, share, and then like our page. Drop your comments at the bottom so that we can read it and see if there's other things that you'd like us to discuss. Thank you very much.
Hi everyone, my name is Joyce Nkrumah. I'm a nurse anesthesiologist who works at Innova Ferrux. We really thank you for tuning in today, and we would like for you guys to visit us on our campus in Woodbridge, Virginia. If you are in the business, you want to be a nurse, we need more nurses. If you want to be a CNA, we are here for you. Pharmacy tech, you name it, we have it all. So come join us. Thank you for watching us.
Hello, my name is Ekuya Marfa. I am a registered nurse, and I'm grateful that you're watching us. It's my hope that you will subscribe. It's my hope that you will like, and it's my hope that you put comments at the bottom so we can read and know what you all are interested in. There's severe shortage in nurses and even in any aspect of healthcare. Whatever you're interested in, do it today because you never know when another pandemic is going to erupt.